Egypt, a land of ancient wonders, has a rich and storied history spanning thousands of years. However, amidst the grand pyramids and magnificent temples lies a dark chapter in its past, a time when the country was consumed by fear, uncertainty, and unrest. These were the darkest times of Egypt, a period marked by mystery and suspense. It was during the reign of the pharaohs that Egypt saw its greatest decline. The once mighty empire was beset by internal conflict and external threats, as neighboring powers sought to exploit its weaknesses. The country was plagued by drought, famine, and disease, and the people were in a state of unrest. Welcome to Memoirs of Truth. In this video, we will delve into the dark times of Egypt. We will explore the dramatic downfall of the once mighty civilization of the Pyramid Age, as the dark period nearly brought about its complete destruction. In ancient Egypt, where mighty pharaohs, multiple gods, and breathtaking art flourished, it may seem that success and power always reigned supreme. But beneath the surface, chaos and catastrophe lurked, as conflict, civil war, famine, and turmoil threatened the very survival of the civilization. Yet, it was the strength of its leaders and the resilience of its people that kept it afloat. Now this is Sesostris III, the legendary king who ruled Egypt over 4,000 years ago. With a physique that epitomized the ideals of a pharaoh and a scowling expression that spoke of his harsh rule, Sesostris was a formidable figure. His large ears were rumored to be a symbol of his ability to detect any plots against him, making him a ruler to be feared. He controlled his enemies through a network of military fortresses and mystical curses, marking a new era in Egyptian history, where not only military might but also fear and suspicion held sway. In the darkest of times, the future of the entire civilization hung in the balance. But despite the challenges, Egypt persevered, sustained by the bountiful River Nile, a rich natural environment, and a society bound together by a complex ideology. During these difficult times, the country was plagued by famine, civil war, and chaos. The once mighty rulers were reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. However, this downfall marked the beginning of one of the greatest comebacks in ancient history, as Egypt rose again to become stronger and more prosperous than ever. The Egyptians, through their lifelike images, were expressing their deepest fears to the gods. They were begging for protection from the forces of chaos that threatened their world. However, the devastating famine that was gripping the country would prove to be a horrifying premonition of what was to come. Up until that point, Egypt's prosperity and stability were sustained by the abundance of the River Nile. Its annual floods fertilized the land, providing the necessary resources for agriculture and life to flourish. The River Nile, which had once been a source of life, this lifeblood was about to run dry. Evidence suggests that at the close of the 3rd millennium BC, the Nile flood levels suddenly dropped dramatically. As the life-giving source began to shrink, the Egyptians felt that their gods were deserting them. For the next 100 years, the ancient texts speak of a period of great hardship, including starvation and even cannibalism. Egyptian society was built on the belief in the divine power of its kings, which was crucial to the success of the Pyramid Age. However, in the face of this natural disaster, the king appeared increasingly powerless, leading to a crisis of faith. King Pepi II, who claimed to have lived for 100 years and was Egypt's longest-lived monarch, was at the center of this crisis. At the ceremonial running track, pharaohs were expected to display their physical prowess by running 4 times around the circuit as King of the North and King of the South, a public display of their fitness to rule. But as Pepi advanced in age and grew weaker, it became apparent that he was just as mortal as his subjects. This realization undermined the entire concept of what it meant to be a pharaoh and led to a rapid decline. The power and divinity of the pharaoh, which had been so important in the Pyramid Age, was now gone, and everything that held Egyptian society together began to unravel. The country was plunged into a dark age, marked by political instability and chaos. The once great civilization was now facing its first major crisis, with no clear solution in sight. In this time of growing uncertainty, when Egyptians had lost faith in both the monarchy and state-run religion, they increasingly turned to the power of magic. The discovery of an ancient Egyptian mask is a haunting one. The 4,000-year-old artifact, made of linen, covered with a thin layer of plaster, and painted mostly in black, with accents of color on various features, stands out among the famous death masks used to recreate the features of the deceased, for recognition by the gods in the afterlife. However, this mask was designed for the living. The presence of distinctive eye holes, allowing the wearer to see, proves that it was intended to be worn. The mask, when applied and tied to the face, would have transformed the individual into a different entity, as evidenced by traces of paint on the linen that suggests the mask may have enabled the wearer to embody a magical being. The effort made to alter their appearance indicates that the Egyptians who wore this was attempting to harness the power of the gods and exert control over their world. This mask symbolizes the individual's attempt to take control of their own destiny. But the mask isn't the only evidence of magic. As Egyptians entered the Dark Ages, they turned to a sinister form of magic to express their wrath and control their surroundings. Scribing curses and spells onto pots and figurines. One such curse, Di, Henui, son of Intef, was etched onto a small object, making it easy to perform within the confines of their own homes. The curses were often written in red ochre, symbolizing the destructive powers of the gods. Imagine Egyptians from all walks of life wielding this magic, priests protecting the pharaoh, soldiers in battle against enemies, or even just a scorned lover seeking revenge. Anyone could become a target of this dark art. To activate the curse, the pot was then shattered, unleashing its malevolent intent. The Egyptians of the Dark Ages resorted to a chilling tactic to maintain control and order in their world, plagued by natural disasters, political turmoil, and foreign threats. They scribed curses and spells on pots and figurines, a practice not unlike voodoo, to annihilate the name of their enemies and assert power over them. It was a desperate attempt by Egyptians from all walks of life, be it a priest, a soldier, or even a jilted lover, to secure their fate. The wax figurine, symbolizing their enemies, was a tool to keep at bay anyone who dared to disrupt the delicate balance of Egyptian society. With each curse written and each figurine crafted, the ancient Egyptians slipped deeper into a state of suspicion, fear, and paranoia. Welcome to a time of terror, where nothing in ancient Egypt was certain. Their trust in the monarchy, their nation, and even their gods was severely shaken. This period marked one of the bleakest moments in Egyptian history, sending shockwaves throughout the Nile Valley. The once powerful king, who once presided over wealth and power from the north, was no longer the source of authority. As a result, royal officials abandoned the court and fled back to their hometowns, causing Egypt to splinter into various local regions known as nomes. In this time of darkness, a new breed of leader rose to prominence. No longer was there a single ruler, but instead, multiple ruthless warlords claimed their own territories. The rise of a new breed of leaders filled the power vacuum created by the declining central government. One such leader, Antifi, documented his journey to becoming a regional governor in his rock-cut tomb at Emoala. His modest tomb showcases the boastful propaganda of his rise to power through its elaborate language, once exclusive to the king, and the detailed walls depicting his journey. In the age of uncertainty and doubt, Antifi aimed to leave no room for doubt in the gods' minds about his newfound importance. In the shadowy era of Egypt's history, the mighty pharaohs were no more and had been replaced by powerful warlords like Antifi. With a self-aggrandizing aura around him, Antifi's elaborate tomb tells a tale of his ambitions and elevated status. He longed to be seen as a local ruler, a position he held by providing for the people. But as the influence of warlords rose, so did the conflicts between them. Battles were fought, alliances were formed, and eventually two warlord dynasties emerged. One in the north wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt and one in the south donning the white crown of Upper Egypt. Egypt was a divided kingdom of two lands, and between them lay a war zone. Situated in the heart of Egypt lay its holiest of holies, the final resting place of the land's earliest royalty. A place of eerie beauty, even today, it was where the mummified remains of Egypt's first monarchs were entombed in grand sepulchres beneath the sands. Thought to be a secure haven for their souls, little did they know what was to come. As the battles between the north and south raged on, the conflict reached a new level of depravity with an act so sacrilegious it would alter Egypt's fate forever. The northern warlord kings, in their fight against their southern foes, committed a vile deed. They profaned the royal tombs, leaving destruction in their wake. As the troops of the northern warlord kings launched an attack on the sacred royal burial ground of Egypt's earliest kings, they set fire to the tombs and destroyed the precious mummies within. This act of blasphemy and desecration severed Egypt's physical connection to its rich and storied past, leaving the Egyptian people horrified and appalled. Despite the deep regret of the northern kings, the destruction was irreversible, and the origins of Egypt's royal history were lost forever. But while much has been lost to time and destruction, clues still remain for those who know where to look. Amidst the ruins of the desecrated royal burial ground, thousands upon thousands of broken pots lay scattered, serving as a testament to centuries of atonement for this great loss. These pots, though not directly tied to the destruction, offer a glimpse into a time of turmoil and grief, reminding us of the fragility of Egypt's physical connection to the past. The aftermath of the desecration of the royal tombs saw the site transform into a place of pilgrimage, where individuals would visit and offer offerings such as food, drink, and incense to the spirits of the kings who were once buried there. This became a way for the people of Egypt to seek redemption for the atrocities committed against their royal ancestors. With the physical remains of the kings destroyed, the only connection to their legacy was through spiritual means. This desecration led to fierce retaliation, and soon, the stronghold of the southern warlords rose against their northern enemies in an effort to reunite Egypt as a single land. The warlord who emerged as the leader in this quest was remembered through the images carved into the walls of his tomb complex in Thebes. His name holds significance in understanding the events of the time. The name of the Theban warlord, Montuhotep, speaks volumes about the state of Egypt during this time period. Montu is the local war god, and Hotep means content or happy. So, the fact that Montu was content with Montuhotep indicates that he was a powerful military leader. This is reflected in the scenes depicted in his tomb complex. Montuhotep lived up to his name as the son of the war god by conquering the north and reunifying Egypt, bringing an end to the country's first dark age. The price of victory was high for Montuhotep II, the newly crowned king of Egypt. The hardships his soldiers endured can be uncovered at Deir el-Bahari on Thebes' west bank, where their remains were discovered in 1923. Although the warriors now rest in a sealed tomb, hidden from the public eye, 4,000 years ago they were honored by Montuhotep and laid to rest among the graves of his highest officials as a symbol of his triumph. This could be the world's first recorded war cemetery, established by a king who paid homage to his fallen soldiers. Egypt's history saw a major turning point with the reunification of the land by warlord Montuhotep. This marked the beginning of the Middle Kingdom and the rise of Thebes as the new spiritual heart of Egypt. Thebes held this position for the next 2,000 years. While the war god Montu dominated the previous century of Egypt's story, the goddess Hathor now took center stage. Hathor, the goddess of love, joy, beauty, and motherhood, has roots tracing back to the earliest of times. Believing that Hathor resided in the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari, Montuhotep chose this site for his war cemetery and for his own tomb complex. Located at the point where the cliffs meet the desert, Deir el-Bahari was believed to be the home of the goddess Hathor herself. Montuhotep was the first to build in this dramatic place, offering a fast track to the afterlife. Montuhotep and his soldiers, who lived and died by the war god Montu, now rest in the eternal embrace of Hathor. This discovery sheds light on the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Egypt and highlights the significant role that the goddess Hathor played in the afterlife journey of Montuhotep and his men. The reign of Montuhotep, the founder of a reunified Egypt, marked a pivotal moment in history as he established Thebes as the new spiritual heart of the nation. So significant was Montuhotep's legacy that nearly 600 years later, female pharaoh Hatshepsut built her own funerary temple next to his, seeking to tap into the religious and political power associated with his name. The Middle Kingdom was a time of prosperity for the Egyptian people, with abundant food supplies, thriving trade and commerce, and revitalized farming systems thanks to new irrigation techniques. However, the shadow of the previous dark age still lingered, as evidenced by the changes in the way Egyptians prepared for the afterlife. In the Old Kingdom, Tomb walls were often adorned with elaborate scenes and texts depicting an idealized version of the world, but during the Dark Ages, many sacred sites were destroyed, leading to a shift in approach. Instead of grand and intricate art, many in the Middle Kingdom opted for more modest, personal offerings. With order restored within Egypt's borders, Middle Kingdom monarchs, such as Sesostris III, shifted their focus to national security and wealth creation, reflecting a continued concern for the safety and stability of their kingdom. Despite the restoration of peace and prosperity, the fears that once threatened to tear Egypt apart had not entirely disappeared and were instead projected outward to the world beyond its borders. Egypt's tale of triumph over adversity spans 800 years, from the Pyramid Age to a golden era of rebirth and cultural renewal. After periods of chaos and decline, the Egyptians rose again to reclaim their heritage and establish a prosperous new chapter in their history. Despite the challenges of this period, the Egyptians never lost their spirit, and their resilience and determination helped them overcome the difficulties they faced. The legacy of the darkest times lives on, as the tales of the pharaohs and their mysterious reigns continue to captivate and intrigue people around the world. The history of Egypt is a testament to the resilience and perseverance of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can always be found. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel as we unravel ancient mysteries. Stay tuned for more exciting content. Thank you for watching.